Let me tell you of the days of high adventure.
I'm Eric.
And I'm Kevin.
And this is 6 Degrees of Schwarzenegger, the podcast where we take a long, hard look at some of our favorite action movies from the era of Arnold.
Schwarzenegger is the icon of the genre, and we're taking a deep dive into some of these 80s and 90s cult action movies and breaking them all the way down.
Kevin, we have reached the last episode of Red Dawn.
So for a while, you were way drunker than me.
Yeah.
And now I feel like you're somehow starting to sober up, despite the fact you've never stopped drinking.
No, I have not.
I feel like
point.
I'm getting really tipsy.
I mean, look, people pay me to drink, so that's not true, but they should pay me to drink.
Yeah. But we're here to get across the finish line with Red Dawn.
We are almost there.
84 masterpiece.
And this is the thing that I love about these movies and that I love being a part of this podcast. These are the type of movies that I can watch both seriously and ironically, right? Like I watch these movies, I love these movies, but they're also so hilariously bad in so many ways.
Yeah. Well, some of them, like this one especially, is like a time capsule.
Yes.
As well.
Yes.
It's like, we'll talk about it a little bit later on probably, but they remade this movie.
Yeah.
But you can never recapture this moment in human history.
Exactly.
Where this movie kind of makes sense. And
it came out in 84, which was like less than a decade before the end of the Cold War, but sort of the peak of the paranoia.
I imagine Reagan, like Ronald Reagan, if he could still get it up, he's probably like jacking off watching this movie. Like, oh, hell yeah.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah. Nancy, don't get in the way. Don't get in the way. It's good that you're here, but don't get in the way. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because it's so just like so on the nose. like it nailed its particular moment in time. In the same way Rocky IV, I feel like did the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
Just like,
oh,
damn,
yeah.
you nailed it.
And we talked about this in episode 1, but when we grew up, everything was steeped in communist paranoia. I mean, the number of movies that I watched that were like the commies are out to get us it was innumerable.
We probably came of age like as the Cold War was sort of winding down or whatever. Mm-hmm. But back in the day, it was like there was a legitimate fear that at any moment the Russians might launch nukes at us.
I mean,
or we might launch nukes at the Russians.
Right.
Or we might get invaded, or that we might invade them. And yeah, it's wild times.
And I don't want to linger on this too long because we have a movie to talk about.
Sure.
But yeah, it is weird to grow up when we grew up because we straddle the pre-Cold War, post-Cold War era.
Yeah.
And so we know a war.
I mean, G.I. Joe
world.
culture is sort of like
absolutely.
Definitely like, oh yeah, it's like the Americans versus the anonymous like baddies.
Yeah.
That are communism.
Right. Exactly. And yeah, it's just it is interesting when you are of our age, and I presume that if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably of our generation.
I would hope so for your sake. If you're younger, go get laid.
Why are you listening to two old men talk about movies from the 80s?
Stay off my lawn.
Well, we're glad to have you here regardless of what your age is.
Absolutely. Thank you for listening.
And thank you for the action. I'm sorry, I'm still learning the podcast network that we're a part of.
Oh, Last of the Action Heroes
podcast network.
Yeah,
thank you so much for being. We're happy to be a part of you. And so this is part 5.
Yeah, we're at the finish line finally. Oof. We made it. If we make it. So I'll try to bring us up to speed on what's happened in this film.
Please do. I would love that.
It's 1984.
Uh-huh. No, it's not 1984.
It's
actually
1989. Yeah, the Russians, the Cubans, the Nicaraguans have airdropped into America to try to take over America for reasons sort of unknown. We're in Calumet, Colorado, where a group of teens sort of escaped on day one and have been like a rebel unit fighting against these guys as partisans or whatever ever since the beginning. They're the Wolverines, led by a bunch of teen heartthrobs. So now I guess we're getting to the end game in which the Wolverines are starting to crumble a little bit under the pressure of it all. They had and then subsequently lost a military dude with them. That was Powers Booth. But now what's left? I mean, there's not a whole lot of us left at the end.
No, we've lost Aardvark.
We lost Aardvark. We lost Powers Booth. The group was starting to crack under the pressure. They just executed one of their own, who seemed to have betrayed them, though it wasn't like voluntary.
No,
he was tortured into swallowing.
Right, which is like, okay, well, let's give it a week
or something like that. I don't know, but yeah.
Okay,
the group is sort of falling apart. They're not sure what to do anymore. They want to quit, but they can't quit. And fuck it.
We're gonna take it. We're gonna take it to the end.
Roll
We're running
on to the end.
Yeah, and so we finish with Patrick Swayze awkwardly opening a photo of people we assume is him and someone else, although it's not clear.
Yeah.
Charlie Sheen shows up and consoles him, and then we cut to sometime later. We really it's not entirely clear how long it is, although we know we're in February at this point, but we don't know much else other than that. So this is like a month and a half later, and they're looking at a communist convoy, and Charlie Sheen produces. He pulls out a rocket launcher. He's ready to shoot at the convoy, and Swayze like stays his hand for a second, right?
Right.
Which is good because as this random convoy who's parked in the middle of the road for no reason that I can ascertain.
Yeah, sure.
Drives away, a couple of boxes fall off the back of it.
It just reeks of a trap.
It does. And that's the thing that I'm thinking. Like the initial note that I took was obvious trap is obvious.
Yes.
Right?
For sure.
But Jennifer Grey's character runs down and starts eating everything without anybody's consent, and it's clear that it's not a trap.
Well, that was weird to me because Swayze's like, this seems like a trap.
This seems like a trap.
Hey,
you go.
You go down there and check it out. Because the boxes had fallen off and it seemed like it was full of food.
Yeah.
Miscellaneous food items like apples and oranges and like shit.
And like Chex Mix and like all the good stuff.
Yeah, right.
And she
she's
starts
just chowing down.
Right, and Grace starts eating all this food and she's not murdered. And I'm like, wait, is this not a trap? Is this like, did this actually happen?
She's like, come on down.
Right. And so they come on down, but in the span of time it takes for her to run down, everybody else has to mount horses and like ride horses down. It's like, how far away is this road? It's not clear to me.
What was extra weird was like Swayze seemed apprehensive right from the get go. He's like, this doesn't feel right. And I don't know what movie it was. It was some movie in which a similar situation had arisen, and like you get one character telling the other character, like, hey, like if there's even a hint of uncertainty, we don't do it.
Yeah,
because this is like if there's any indecision, it's a no.
Yeah,
and that's what should have happened, right?
Yeah.
It's like this doesn't feel right, but okay, we got to get these apples, I guess. I just don't. I'm like, dude, you got to know better than this at this point.
I agree.
This seems too good to be true. It's probably not true.
Right? Exactly. Right. I totally agree. But nonetheless, everybody goes down. They collect the food, and we cut to them all against like some rocks, enjoying and eating the food.
Yeah, let's take it back to the rocks, he
Yeah,
says, basically.
exactly.
They're crushing the Czechs.
Just like pounding the Czechs.
They got like weird like Danishes or muffins or something.
It's like really weird.
Okay.
And then
Yeah.
Jennifer Grey is like squeezing orange juice onto Patrick Swayze's
It was
head.
odd. It did. So, as a person who had maybe seen this movie when I was little one time and then had forgotten about it, when I'm watching it, I'm like, I felt certain, like, oh, this food's definitely poisoned or something, right? Like, that's the Russian way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's like there couldn't be a better plan than to like, oh, we're gonna poison the food and dump it out all over the place or whatever and scatter it, and people are gonna eat the poisoned food and they're gonna die or some shit like that. But that is apparently not what happened. Exactly. Maybe the people were just like, we're gonna dump food and then we have some people hidden just watching and waiting.
That's the thing that I couldn't figure out. It was obviously a trap. I just can't accept that this was a random thing given what happens next.
No.
Right?
Yeah, no, it definitely was planned by the Soviets or whatever.
But before we move on to the action sequence, this is the remnants of an entire like romantic subplot that occurred between Patrick Swayze's character and Jennifer Grey's character that never even was shot.
Oh, it did never filmed?
They never filmed it because Patrick Swayze and Jennifer Grey hated each other so much on the set of this movie, apparently.
Yeah, okay.
And Patrick Swayze said, like, I just don't think that this is right for my character. I don't think we should do this. And he actually had the entire subplot removed from the movie. And this, like,
interesting that he even had the clout to make that happen.
I know that's what blew me away. And again, this could be, who knows? I'm looking this up on the internet, right?
Right. No, I saw the same. I heard the same.
So, but yeah, so it's like there's this whole romantic subplot that never comes to fruition because Patrick Swayze and Jennifer Grey had a conflict on set, which I guess presumably they resolved because Dirty Dancing. But anyway, so that we get this one moment of flirtation and then fucking helicopters come over the rise.
Right. Yeah, you get the sound of helicopters approaching, ominous.
and so they immediately open fire on everyone.
It's like those Rambo helicopters, the ones with the big wings like loaded with artillery or whatever.
It's fucking badass helicopters. I love those helicopters.
Okay.
So I looked this up a little bit, and apparently they did the same thing in Red Dawn that they did in Rambo 3, where it's a similar style of helicopter.
Okay.
But they retrofitted them with the wings with all the artillery underneath them.
Okay.
So it's not the actual Russian helicopters.
Yeah.
But it's a similar style of helicopters that they've retrofitted to look
well,
like those Russian
I would
helicopters.
assume they don't have access to actual, I guess, Russian helicopters.
But it makes sense. But yeah, I have in my notes, I'm reading this right here, I really fucking love those helicopters. Like that's
absolutely,
what I wrote.
dude.
I wrote that in my notes.
That's the Rambo shit
Yeah,
when it comes flying out. I'm like, oh, hell
Yeah.
yes. They got the wings on them.
Yeah. So anyway, so at this point, Jennifer Grey is dead. We think she's dead. She's been shot. We don't know.
If you get hit by one bullet from a gun like that, you're fucking dead.
So that's what I think.
That's the sort of shit that would cut you in half.
Yeah,
if it hits you.
Exactly. So that's what I think, at least initially. But anyway, Patrick Swayze yells at everybody to go run. Rockets are exploding. Guns are going everywhere. So they ride off on their horses. And then, so Patrick Swayze pulls Jennifer Grey onto the back of his horse. And but C. Thomas Howell is separated from the rest of the crew.
Did you read the shit where he was like a rodeo rider?
Yes,
C. Thomas Howell was
I did hear about
before
that.
he got discovered. So he was like a badass on horses. And apparently, all this shit was really him riding around with the gun and everything. I'm like, that's rad as fuck.
That's pretty fucking cool. Yeah,
right on,
I know.
dude.
I did read about
real life
that.
cowboy.
And he apparently taught everybody else how to ride. Actually,
okay.
Yeah, that's what I read at least, which is useful information. But it doesn't matter here because he's got an RPG. And he sees the opportunity, he seizes it, he shoots the rocket into the helicopter, and it only kills the guy on the gun.
Was his problem, was he too accurate?
I don't know what happened.
If you hit the actual body of the chopper, it would crash. Instead, he shot it into the open door.
And it blew up one guy.
Hit the one guy right in his heart or some shit. Instead, he just fell out. He fell out the other door.
It was unfortunately the most accurate shot you could ever make in the history of your life.
It was too accurate. He was too good.
And unfortunately for him, he decides to, instead of run and hide from his unfortunately accurate shot, he decides to grab his AK-47 and scream, "Wolverines!" which to this point has been a rallying cry, but in this moment, it dooms him.
They got the really triumphant music.
Yeah, there's this massive swell, and there's this moment of triumph. And he's just murdered to death. He's just murdered to death because he doesn't run away.
Yeah.
Right?
No, he goes down in a hail of bullets. That was the moment in which I'm expecting, right as they're approaching, probably the American fighter jets are going to arrive and shoot the helicopter down.
Yeah.
But no, it doesn't happen that way at all. He's dead.
Anyway, so we cut back to Patrick Swayze and Jennifer Grey riding to safety, but she falls off his horse, and they both dismount, and the horse runs off because we can't see a horse die on screen. What is this? Braveheart? We're not gonna.
Holy shit! Did you watch Napoleon?
No, I haven't seen Napoleon.
If you want to see a horse get hit by a cannonball. Napoleon is the movie for you.
I just love how excited you were about horses being hit by cannonballs.
It's not as terrible as you would expect, but it's pretty. That movie is graphic as fuck.
Really?
I liked it though.
Okay.
It's got very middling reviews.
Yeah.
But because it's kind of campy.
Yeah.
But I dug the shit out of it.
All
so
right,
yeah, I
okay.
recommend Napoleon. Check it out.
I've been on the fence about Napoleon, but okay, based on horses getting hit by cannonballs, I feel like I'm on board. But anyway, so the horse runs off, and they're laying on the ground. So the helicopters fly away, and they're both laying underneath this bush, and it's really clear that Jennifer Grey is a goner. She's not surviving this.
Honestly, if you get hit by one of those bullets, off of a fucking gun, the type of gun that's mounted on a helicopter. You're dead right away. I feel like you're hollowed out.
Oh, you're completely
That's the sort of shit.
out.
If you get hit in the arm, your arm falls off.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Exactly.
You're not surviving even a little bit of time.
And so she is bleeding from a wound that should have been way worse than it was. And they have this intimate moment, which is, again, a vestige of the romantic subplot that they were supposed to have.
Yeah.
Right? And she asks him to kill her with the Colt 45 again. Specifically, he pulls out his grandfather's gun, and she wants him to kill her with that gun, and he can't do it.
It was kind of sort of poignant, right? Because she's like, I don't want to be cold.
I don't want to be cold. I don't want to be taken advantage of by the Ruskies. Again, at this point, it's well established that Russians really want Jennifer Grey.
Specifically,
they want Jennifer Grey. I don't know what it is about her.
Absolutely.
You get it.
I understand.
I'm much more a Leah Thompson fan than Jennifer Grey, but that's fine. But suffice it to say, she does not want to be a victim of the Ruskies. And she's like, kill me. I don't want to feel cold. And it's like, I can't do it. She's like, okay, give me a grenade. So he gives a grenade, and she's like, pull the pin, and he pulls the pin, and she holds on to it. And she says, leave me. Go find the survivor. Get the fuck out of here. I can't. There's nothing you can do here. I'm done, right? And so he was like, okay. He actually, leaves. It was just what...
Yeah.
I mean, he does it. So we cut back to the Russian side of things. All these badass helicopters land. And the soldiers come out and they fan out, and we think that Jennifer's the grenade has not gone off yet.
Yeah, this is kind of weird but she does appear to have died.
Right. But the grenade doesn't go off.
Yeah, I guess she still got it in her hand or some shit.
Yeah. And so they come out, and then the second in command says, we think that the death toll is 12, which is an
Yeah.
odd. I didn't understand where this number came from.
I don't know why this is happening, like why this
Okay.
discussion is being put on film.
Okay.
I don't know what the point that is being made is.
Yeah, I didn't
Other
understand
than like,
it.
oh, the Soviets, they lie to try to make themselves sound better.
Right.
Like, if that's the point, okay.
Yeah.
But it was weird because, the other dude's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, I count one body here that I've seen.
Right, exactly.
He's like, no, they carry their dead away. And he's like, oh, yeah, of course they do.
That was my favorite part when the one Rusky who was like trying to justify his 12 body count is like, no. You only have one, but don't forget, these crazy Americans carry their dead away.
They totally do.
It was so weird.
And maybe the idea is just that, these Soviets, they lie a lot
Yeah.
just to make things sound better for themselves than they really are.
That's the only thing I can figure. Suffice it to say, one Rusky goes off. He finds Jennifer Grey, who's clearly dead, and yet somehow the grenade doesn't go off. He moves her body, rolls it over.
Right. That's when the grenade,
rolls out from somewhere. It was
Sure.
really unclear where it came from.
it was.
And then it cuts back to like the fox hunter guy, and the grenade blows up in the distance, and he's like,
Damn it. Yeah, they got us again.
They got us again. And then that was it. That's the end of Jennifer Grey's character.
So I wound up doing like sort of a deep dive on Jennifer Grey and what happened to her.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, she just disappeared off the scene.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And it's kind of a crazy story. Like, she got in a car crash with Matthew Broderick, who was her boyfriend.
Oh my God.
They started like secretly dating during Ferris Bueller or some shit, right?
Okay.
So they got in a car crash and she got like a neck injury or something like that. So she was, and the other people in the other car like died. Like, there was two people who died. Apparently Matthew Broderick was like driving on the wrong side of the road or some shit, like in Ireland, and with her, and they crashed and died.
Shouldn't be laughing.
Like,
at
other people
this.
died,
Yeah.
right? So she had like some PTSD, like / guilty conscience, whatever. She went out of the public eye for a little bit. Then she got a plastic surgery and came out looking just like nothing like herself anymore. And that was just sort of the end of her career. Like, she went in for a nose job or something and came out looking like a different person.
Oh, wow.
And then it's just like, okay, and her career, like, acting offers just like dried up or something. I'm like, that's fucking wild.
Fucking wild. Yeah, that is.
It's weird to be like, I was in
insanity.
Dirty Dancing and then I feel like I need to like plastic surgery.
Yeah.
So it's like, no, you made it. Like, that's as big as you can get, right?
Wow, that is
But
just crazy.
anyway,
to
that's
me.
Jennifer
Yeah.
Grey's story.
That is just that is unfucking believable, because usually like Hollywood celebrities like use plastic surgery to keep their career alive.
She killed her.
And she
Apparently
killed
her
hers.
mom like pressured her into like, you
Oof.
should get some plastic surgery. You'd be a lot more marketable.
Oh, that's such a shame.
And then, it's like, okay, mom, like, that's fucking weird shit. It's going to probably get cut out of the podcast, to be honest. But anyway, back to the flick.
So, all right. So the commies hear the explosion go off in the distance,
Yeah.
and Mr. Big Bad, who no one has ever said his name, honestly.
Yeah. It's in the credits
It's in the
somewhere, but I'm
credits,
just like, no, he's just like the Russian commander.
He's the Russian fox hunter. Like that's what I called him in my notes, right? Like he's the fox hunter or something.
for sure.
But so we cut back to the Monument Rock where they keep etching everybody's name in, and he's adding two unfortunate names, and he adds C. Thomas Howell's character's name, who, how did he know that he died? I guess he didn't show back up, but he didn't see him
Sure.
die.
Okay.
And then Jennifer Grey's name to the list on the rock. And then he also adds his own name and his brother's name to it.
That was weird to me.
That was super weird to me.
Is that just
Yeah.
acceptance? We're not going to survive this?
I paused it and it was like, okay. At first I thought it was a continuity error or something.
Yeah, for
Right?
sure.
But why? But it couldn't be continuity error because he was the one adding the names to the rock. And so like, okay, that is a really like morbid, pessimistic sort of take on the whole thing. it was a kind of a dark moment realizing.
To me, it's like, we're dead already.
Yeah, exactly. So while this is happening, we cut to Charlie Sheen explaining to Leah Thompson and Danny's character that they need to go. They need to get to someplace safe. They're done. They've done what they need to do.
Yeah. I was wondering, where the fuck are they right now? Because they seem to be indoors,
right?
Or like in a shelter of some sort.
Yeah, it was weird. Like by this point in the movie, the geography was completely off because they would cut to a place in the town that was covered in snow, and then they would cut to the mountains that wasn't covered in snow. And
yeah, honestly, that bugged me a little bit.
Yeah,
because I'm look, once the snow comes down,
it's everywhere.
It's gonna be there until like May.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's not going anywhere.
Right. So that bothered me. The timeline gets really fuzzy at this point in the movie.
Yeah, no doubt.
And so anyway, Charlie Sheen says, "You got to get the fuck out of here. We're gonna wreak havoc, but someone needs to go and survive this whole nonsense."
Then he's like, me and Jed or whatever, me and Swayze, we're all used up.
Yeah, we're all used up.
Whatever that means.
Right.
I don't know. I think it essentially means like the war has taken all of their humanity away from them.
Yep, there's nothing
like
left.
We're done.
Yeah.
You two, I feel like Danny and Leah Thompson maybe have just like retained the most of their humanity.
Yeah. And there is this brief exchange where Leah Thompson tries to say, no, come with us. And there's just this sense that Charlie Sheen knows that he and his brother, like, there's no humanity left in, there's no innocence left in them.
Right.
And it's actually interesting. I mean, I think it's overwrought, but it is interesting. I mean, in the early parts of my notes, I'm like, oh my God, there is so much crying. Like, why is there so much crying? And it is overwrought, but it is interesting to see the transition from all of these kids crying all the time to these soldiers.
Yeah.
Knowing that their end is coming and being at peace with that. Right?
Yeah. We've come a long way also from like, wash my dishes, woman.
Yeah, I know. It's
now
crazy
they're, like,
to me.
having their moment.
And again, I mean, this is a thing that comes up over and over again in this podcast. And there's these moments of profound importance combined with the profound silliness of the 80s and 90s. And this is one of those moments where you kind of take a moment back and you go like, oh shit, like this caught me. Like this is a moment that's real. Like I feel this.
Okay.
So Charlie Sheen and Patrick Swayze, they prepare for their final battle, right? But
yes,
but it's possible that maybe they could survive this because there's like fucking crazier shit that's happened.
Right. He's like, we survived some crazy shit in the past. Right.
Right. But then they it's like this weird moment where they like.
This is the moment where Patrick Swayze was like looking at a framed photograph of himself, and I'm like. Now I'm thinking maybe where they're at is like their old house or something.
But in the background, though, when they're looking at this, it's like the ruined basketball court.
Yeah, it was strange.
Right?
It was
I'm
strange.
Like, where are they? How did they
high
get
school
here?
Or something?
Yeah,
maybe they're at the burned out high school.
I guess they went back to the burned out high school before the attack. The sense that I got watching the scene was like, okay, there is an entire scene that occurred in the original script that they did not either film or they cut out of the movie that explains how they got here, right? Suffice it to say, they're in this ruined basketball court just outside of town, and they exchange I love yous, and then they go, it's hard being brothers, isn't it?
That's weird.
Yeah.
I don't know what to even make of that.
Yeah.
I have no clue what that was supposed to be about.
And then they do a secret handshake that we have never seen in the movie to this point.
I thought it was strange. Yeah. I thought they were like pulling on Soviet uniforms, like maybe to blend in as well.
Yeah.
But it's like the handshake. I'm like, I don't know what's happening.
What is going on?
Brothers, huh?
Yeah, it is.
I'm like, but what do you mean by that?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't even know.
And this goes back to the sort of overarching criticism that I have of the movie, is that there is this humanitarian subtext that runs through the entire movie that never truly pays off.
There was a lot of storylines, though, like little subplots and threads that never paid off on this movie.
Exactly. And speaking of subplots that never pay off,
okay,
let's jump back to Soviet HQ. Let's jump back to Commander Bea, and he is writing a letter, and the whole scene is told with him narrating.
Of course.
And he's never done any VO up to this point in the movie, but now we are hearing him narrate the letter that he wrote to his wife, I guess, right?
Right. We feel like it's a wife, girlfriend, something.
And he's talking about how he wished he had never come to this place, and how he's like the horrors of war have come full circle for him, and that it was different when he was fighting as a part of a revolution. But he's like, he's sort of resigned he's like, he's done. He can't handle it anymore.
He's like, I'm going to resign and come back to you.
He just wants to go home, right?
This is the point that if this movie is some sort of allegory to other wars and stuff, like maybe this is the United States realizing that we never should have gone to Vietnam.
Right.
Like they don't want us here.
Exactly.
Like I'm going to come back home to you just as soon as I can wrangle it.
Like, what do we get from this? Like, what is the advantage here? And this is the whole thing where it's sort of like what the original plot was versus what the movie became.
Right.
There are all of these little threads, all these little tendrils of this war is awful subplot that that Milius was trying to get rid of.
Yes.
But some of it crept through, and Commander Bea was the one character who he couldn't kind of get rid of.
He's the only. Well, I guess maybe other characters had arcs, but he had the like most pronounced arc of any character in the movie. Because he's like, I'm done with this shit. Like, I'm used to being like on the side of the oppressed. Now I'm an oppressor and I don't love it. I want to just come back home. I'm tired of this shit. And then his final bit of his arc is going to play out a little bit later, but we'll get to that.
But this is the critical moment. This is the climax of his arc. Is he's writing this letter to his wife, presumably. But as he finishes the letter, boom! Another massive explosion occurs outside. Right? And now it's off to the races. And so he runs outside. All hell is breaking loose. Explosions going everywhere. And as we mentioned in the first episode, this is all practical. Like, there's no miniatures. There's no CGI.
I love the bit. There's one dude just running through with one random arm on fire.
One arm on fire.
Like, dude, take your jacket off.
Just take. I know. I was thinking the same thing. It's like, ah!
My one arm.
This is an easily solvable situation.
My right arm.
He almost gets shot. Like, bullets go everywhere, but he survives. But the guy who comes outside, like, the moment after him, unfortunately, is in the wrong place at the wrong time. He dies.
Yeah.
Right? Because we can't have him die yet. His storyline isn't completely concluded. Commies are firing into the night everywhere. I mean,
you're right. They're just firing aimlessly.
Just indiscriminately. There might as well be 30 American soldiers everywhere in this space. But it is just Patrick Swayze and Charlie Sheen sneaking through the city. I don't know where they got all of this armament. I mean, they've got rockets, they've got grenades.
Yeah, right. They're fully loaded up.
They're fully loaded up. And they just like blowing everything up that they can. So, as they are creeping around town, Bea's right-hand man, who we've established as a character actor, who's been in other
Mickey.
things,
Mickey from Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
He walks out of the barracks and he actually sees them creeping away into the darkness, and he gives chase. And you think, oh my God, this is going to be the biggest throwdown ever. Like, this is the penultimate battle. No. Swayze and Sheen roll up to like a trailer or something.
Yeah, it seemed to be like the headquarters for like the intelligence people or whatever.
And the evil commie leader exits out. He sees that these two evil Americans are about to shoot an RPG at him. He screams. Charlie Sheen shoots the RPG at him, and he gets a 2-for-1. He gets a fucking, like...
Yes.
Right? He gets a BOGO. He gets a buy one, get one free. He kills the evil communist leader in his trailer of communications, but also Bea's right-hand man like buys the dust from the I don't know
I don't know what you call that. Like
of the rocket?
the backfire, the exhaust or the rocket burned his face off.
Burned
or
his
some
face
shit?
off, and that's it. We don't address it beyond that. He's just dead. We don't care about that anymore. We're done with that. Moving right along. Anyway, the evil hunter guy, who's the fox who gave the whole presentation, who
Right.
broke down the biology of the Wolverine previously. he's half dressed, but he is ready to fucking go. Meanwhile, Swayze and Sheen have caused enough damage. They're getting the fuck out of Dodge.
It seems like they actually might escape.
Right, I know, for a moment, it's like,
there's a train pulling out right at this
like,
moment. We can hop on the train and we're gone.
why is the train pulling out? Doesn't matter. But they get on the train anyway. It's leaving. He sees him jump on the train, though, and he shoots a couple of rounds. And unfortunately, Charlie Sheen is hit. He falls off the train.
Yeah.
Swayze jumps after him. The evil Russian dude who hunts like a fox looks under the train. He's waiting for the train to pass. The train passes. He crosses the tracks. He sees the blood trail. Now he's on the hunt, right? He's looking, he's hunting, he's trying to find the boys. He doesn't see Patrick Swayze sneak up behind him. Swayze takes his grandfather's Colt 45.
Absolutely,
The
yeah.
last time we see it in the movie, finally, he points it at the bad guy. All he has to do is pull the trigger.
Sure.
All he has to do, that's it.
Shoot him in the back.
Shoot him in the back. We're done. But instead, he says, "You lose.
You lose.
You lose." Mr. Evil Russian, who's, I don't even know if anybody has even said his name, turns around, fires his submachine gun. Patrick Swayze, of course, kills him.
You got to give the guy enough time to turn and fire, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Otherwise,
just, it wouldn't be honorable.
Yeah, it's not honorable for sure.
Anyway, so Patrick Swayze kills the evil Russian guy, but he's also wounded in the shootout. He knows where Charlie Sheen is. He picks him up, and he's carrying him to, I don't know. I didn't know where he was carrying him. Just sort of like carrying him, right?
Right,
Like,
but that's where I feel like it pays off because they wind up at some sort of like a playground or like the park or
yeah,
whatever.
he doesn't. Yeah, he's just carrying him. But as on the way to wherever he's going, he meets up with Bea one last time.
Before we get to that, he runs into Bea, and Swayze's got this amazing look on his face, just like I'm gone.
I'm gone. I'm done. I'm defeated. But Bea points his machine gun at him, and then he it's this amazing subtle gesture. He just waves them on. I'm done.
Yeah.
I can't take this anymore.
He says "Vaya con Dios," which is
Vaya con Dios. Go with God.
A line that was famously delivered from Keanu Reeves to Swayze in Point Break.
Later on, though.
Yeah, later on when he's saying no, just go on and let God deal with you.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, I don't know if that was intentional.
I can't believe that was a coincidence.
Yeah, you don't have two guys say "Vaya con Dios" to Swayze as he's on his way to meet his maker or whatever.
Absolutely. So he says "Vaya con Dios." He goes. It's a struggle, but Swayze sits Sheen up on a bench with a swing set in the background. There's no way this is a coincidence.
No. It's like the dad mentioned earlier, remember those happy times when we were on the playground together and this and that?
Yeah.
And it's connecting back to that. And he's like, Dad's going to be here to meet you soon or whatever.
Over and over. He says that over and over again. Yeah. This was the night. Two things. This was the night. It was negative 30 degrees Celsius that night that they were filming.
Which I believe it because you could see the ice crystals just in the air.
In the air in front of them.
Yeah.
And this is also the night that Patrick Swayze got frostbite. He got frostbite filming this fucking movie. Right? And this is I want to pause here before we get to the end.
Okay.
But Swayze got frostbite on this movie. Leah Thompson is on record as saying this is the most fun she's ever had making a movie. So say what you will about this movie. It was a fucking thing that people were invested in. Right?
Absolutely.
I mean,
Absolutely.
all of the actors went to boot camp. They went to boot camp. They trained for this movie, right? And this is the end of it. We finally come to the point where everybody's sort of like is wrapping everybody up. Everybody who's going to die is either dead or moments from dying,
Sure.
right? And so it's this. I don't know. It's a really great moment when he pulls Charlie Sheen up onto the bench, and they talk about Dad's coming soon, and there's a swing set in the background, and there's like literally the air is freezing around them in the frame.
Absolutely.
It is a legitimately great scene. Like it's great. So now we fade to black, and we fade up. We don't. I have no idea how much time.
I feel like we just saw like Charlie Sheen take his last breath,
right?
And we assume Swayze's like close behind,
moments behind.
Yeah.
We fade up, and Leah Thompson and Danny.
I think it's a significant amount of time later because it doesn't seem to be winter anymore.
No, it doesn't, because most of the snow is melted. Like,
yeah,
it's mostly gone. So I don't know how long they've been climbing through the mountains. But Leah Thompson's character and Danny they're scrambling through the mountains. They cross a ridge, and they look down into the valley, presumably looking west, right? There's no way they would be running east.
I thought the same thing. I thought like the eastern front is at the Mississippi River.
Exactly.
Like, I feel like they must be heading west.
They must be.
Yeah, they pop out in like you said, like Arizona or Nevada or something.
So Leah Thompson starts in a voiceover, says, "We're free." And then we cut back to the rock. We cut back to this rock that we've come to a couple of times.
Yeah.
Right, where they keep etching each other's names into it.
This ending reminded me of so many like Mad Max movies where they're like, we never saw the Road Warrior again or whatever. It was like that vibe.
It is straight up that vibe, but that now presumably the war has been won if you think about it.
They're flying an American flag at the monument.
And there is like a monument,
a new
sign.
plaque or whatever there. So
Exactly.
I think the war's over and the United States prevailed.
Presumably, right? But Leah Thompson is talking about like the soldiers who have lost their lives. And the sign is talking about in the early days, this is a quote, in the early days of World War III, guerrillas, mostly children, placed the names of their lost upon this rock. They fought here alone and gave their lives so that this nation shall not perish from the earth.
I dug it. It's partisan rock.
Exactly.
Is what they call it.
Partisan rock is what they called it.
Yeah.
And that's it. Fade to black, credits roll, and that is the end of Red Dawn.
It was like the old school, like the curtain call sort of ending where they show everyone again. And like, that was a very popular thing. I feel like around this era, like Top Gun had that and a number of other movies. Hold on.
You could practically see
Predator
everybody.
had that. Platoon had that.
You could see them bowing, right? Like roses being thrown onto the stage.
For sure. Because you want to remember happier times when they were all not dead.
Exactly. And it was, I don't know, I love this movie, like, seriously and ironically.
Yeah,
like
rad.
all of these movies.
That's what's up.
And it was fun to revisit it. It was fun to go back to the 80s when, I mean, fun is not the right word, but it's also the right word.
Absolutely.
Yeah, when, like, everybody was afraid of the commies, but it is remarkable.
No, you're spot on.
Go ahead.
No. I was gonna say the movie was like a success. It struck a chord with people at the time.
Yeah.
For sure. And it's enjoyable to watch. I mean, it has to be, I guess. But it was a financial success. Helped launch a lot of careers.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It was an unbelievable cast.
Absolutely. The reviews for the movie were like lukewarm at best, I think, but it is what it is. The common thread was like, wow, what a timely premise. Like, this movie is sure to make a lot of money. Like, it's not great, but like, Jesus, they really got like lightning in a bottle here, with the premise of it all. But it had a cultural impact for sure.
Yeah.
Like, the next year, there was a pseudo knockoff, like a Chuck Norris movie, Invasion USA.
Oh,
but there
really?
were there was a whole lot of like generic Soviet bad guy movies that came out right in the wake of this as well, like the Rockies and the No Retreat, No Surrender.
Yeah.
Van Damme had another movie called Black Eagle, I think, where it was just like generic Soviet bad guys.
Oh, I haven't seen that one.
Russians. They even remade the movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
right?
they did recently, but they changed it from Russians and Cubans to North Koreans.
Bad guys. It was odd. The movie came out in 2012. It was starred Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah.
Although the movie, I think, was filmed like in 2009 and it sat on the shelf for 3 years. And it was one of those now Thor came out.
Yeah.
And Hemsworth's a big deal. So now we can release this.
Yeah. Before this, what had he done? Cabin in the Woods? Who cares?
Yeah, well, even Cabin in the Woods, I think, was another one that filmed before Thor and then sat around like, what are we going to do with this? Cabin in the Woods is rad.
It's a
movie,
classic. That movie's amazing. Anyway, that's a different podcast.
Yeah. But I watched the remake like a week ago, and I thought there was a lot of things that it did better than the original. But on the whole, it was probably like about comparable to the original. Rotten Tomatoes, though, said of the remake, they were like it lacked the current, like the topicality of the original. But they said it did a good job, though, of honoring the original's lack of character development and lack of any sort of logic to the plot. Like, damn, that's kind of harsh.
That's a really backdoor compliment.
But like you said, I think way earlier, it was the first movie ever with a PG-13 rating, which is kind of rad.
Yeah.
Spielberg spearheaded the movement, like we got to have a rating in between PG and R.
Yeah.
Like, because I think he had done Poltergeist and then Gremlins and then Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. He was like, look, this is not a movie for like just...
Yeah, but at the same time...
For parents to think it's just totally fine for kids. Like, it's not an R maybe, but it's not also a PG.
Yeah.
I get it. I think he's right about that shit. Like we said before, John Milius, fucking hardcore.
Oh,
dude, motherfucker.
Guy.
Yeah, like we said, the loaded pistol on himself at all times. That's insane.
The rabbit hole that I could have gone down on that guy. I mean, like,
dude.
It was... He is a unique individual.
He had his young cast, like, training with Green Berets to learn how to hold guns and everything like that. Another thing that blew my mind was there was no, like, quote-unquote movie magic on this.
No,
it was all
agree.
Like no matte paintings,
practical.
No models, no green screen, no like composite shit. If you saw it, it really was filmed.
Really fucking happened. And that was a thing that at the beginning I was like, oh, this is super low budge. But then at the end I'm like, fuck, this is all actually happened.
No, it had to be kind of expensive.
Every single thing happened on set. Like, it was an expensive fucking movie.
For sure.
Yeah, and I loved it. I loved the explosions per second in that movie was amazing.
Second to none.
Oh my God. I was so satisfied the amount of explosions in that movie.
He had these motherfuckers up in the real mountains filming in the real cold.
Yep.
And that shit's crazy. I had read where everyone like who's behind the camera was like wearing this sort of like down suits like you would climb Mount Everest wearing, you know?
That's right. They had the Everest suits or whatever. They're like what are they called? Like Everest hazard suits or something like that.
It's fucking crazy shit.
Amazing.
But the movie was filmed like we said on location in New Mexico. Swayze apparently like loved it and bought a massive ranch there or whatever.
He loved
after.
it. And Leah Thompson is on record as saying it was her favorite movie ever.
That's
like
cool.
Shooting it, right?
I can't imagine how that's possible because it sounds like hellacious.
I mean, she must be a survivalist, but yeah, that movie is what inspired Patrick Swayze to seek out a ranch in sort of Western mountainous America.
For
right?
sure. I'm
it's
into
crazy.
It. Apparently there's also a scene where the Wolverines... Did you read the shit about the McDonald's?
Oh, yeah, the McDonald's scene.
Where there was a scene they chopped out where there were a bunch of Russians like in the McDonald's eating and the Wolverine showed up and killed them all.
Yeah.
But then there was a big, like a mass shooting in a McDonald's like a few weeks before the movie came out, and they're like, "Oh, we got to cut the scene out."
Yeah,
that's wild.
It's weird that, and that's not even like the first time that's happened. I mean, there's the number of times where they've cut things out of movies because of horrible things that have occurred minutes before the movie released. I mean, it's weird.
But back in the old days, it's hard to imagine like when it's like an actual
How
film
did you
print,
like cut out that many feet of footage?
Yeah, it appeared, but it was in trailers and everything like that, and then it was removed from the final cut. And you were saying the thing about it being the most violent movie ever.
So the notes that I have, I did a little bit of research on this, and for a long time, it was in the Guinness Book of World Records as the most violent movie ever released in the history of the world, I guess. I don't know.
Probably until some future Rambo movie came out.
Exactly.
But yeah.
But the statistics that the Guinness Book of World Records came up with was there was 2.23, quote unquote, acts of violence per minute in this film.
Okay.
Which is crazy.
I believe it, I guess.
I mean, it was violent, but the fact that it was rated PG-13, like it's just this weird dichotomy.
Right. It wasn't this sort of like bloody people being dismembered type R-rated violence.
It wasn't RoboCop. Like it was.
Oh, for sure.
There was no personal violence.
Yeah.
It was always the aftermath of violence, right?
Also, I just want to mention shout out to 1984 because that was like most
a banner year.
Like most years in the 80s, it like produced some amazing fucking flicks, dude. The highest grossing movie of the year was Ghostbusters, killer. But Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom came out that year. Gremlins was out that year. Beverly Hills Cop was out that year, and Romancing the Stone and fucking Terminator.
Oh my God, that's
that year.
Right.
And my personal like jam, the Karate Kid came out that year as well. Like just killer year.
Oh
for
wow,
flicks.
What a year for movies.
I feel like this one came out towards the end of the year, but fucking closed it out with a bang.
I mean, the fact that Red Dawn came out in '84 against all of that, and that we are sitting here talking about it.
Hell yeah.
I mean, I think it's a testament to the strength of the movie, right?
Absolutely.
Like the watchability of the movie.
I think John Milius is still alive. He's still
alive. He's still kicking.
So absolutely. I think he had like some sort of health scare. I don't know if it was a heart attack or a stroke or something a few years ago, and it seemed like he was like not going to make it, but I think he recovered. So
yeah, I checked IMDb. He's got things in post-production right now.
Okay, so he's back in the business.
Yeah, he's working still. Yeah.
Right on, but that's a fucking rad 80s movie.
Oh yeah, no.
Like as 80s movies go, this is about as 80s as it gets.
Yeah.
Like capturing the from the cast to the type of story it's telling. You can't ask for more in an 80s movie.
I mean, it's a classic in my opinion, and that's why we do this podcast.
It holds. I mean, I don't know if holds up is the right word.
I feel like you have to watch it from the perspective.
Right, through the prism of the Cold War.
Yeah.
And then you're like, wow, what an artifact this movie is.
But a worthwhile artifact. Anyway, Red Dawn for me is a classic. I am biased, I'll admit.
Yeah, I think you had more of a history with it than I had. But I can also watch this movie and be like, oh yeah, this is like right up our alley.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, this is... It checks all the boxes.
I feel like we need to go back to our basics. We need to find like a classic, like traditional one. I've taken us down a road.
No. You nailed it. But we do need to revisit Arnold. There's a few things. I'm dying to talk about Iron Eagle with somebody.
Oh God, Iron Eagle.
Another like generic sort of Cold War flick.
I love that movie.
I'm into it. So we're gonna hash it out once we sober up.
Yes,
we'll figure out what's next.
We're not making any serious decisions right now.
But until don't make any serious decisions while you're drunk, guys. That's a good life advice from Eric. But no, we will be back with something new and fresh and amazing for your asses.
Yes.
So until then, thanks for listening. Happy holidays, happy Thanksgiving Day, or
whenever you're listening to this,
whatever the fuck time here
whatever's going on.
Happy President's Day or MLK Day.
Arbor Day is what I care about.
Arbor Day, absolutely fucking. Holy shit, I'm so drunk.
We're done.
I'm
We
d-
have reached the end.
We're done. We're tapping out. We'll be back.
Yeah, stay safe, everybody.